At 9:34 a.m., we continue with the broadcast this morning. Now, this is actually quite interesting because an issue that we have been talking about for a long time has been the Muslim marriages bill and the ability to enforce and why people are actually turning to court. Now, just to give you a brief background about what has actually taken place is a Western Cape High Court judge had ruled that a woman who had proved that she was still married to her husband at the time of his passing away in 2012 could get 19 million rand in maintenance that her now deceased co-wife had tried to prevent her from claiming. So basically, what has happened is the woman and her husband were separated. He got married again, and the second wife obviously tried to claim this. And what this woman had to do is go to court and say, "Listen, at the time of his death, I have been a legal inheritor. I am also entitled to a portion of his estate." And this is the reason why the Western Cape High Court judge had actually ruled in her favor, saying that she should get 19 million rand. And what had also happened is she had approached the Muslim Judicial Council for a ruling on the status of a marriage. The MJC issued a fatwa saying that she was still married to the man when he died because there was no conclusive evidence that a final talaq or a final divorce had been given. And we are now joined on the line this morning by the president of the Al Jama party and also member of parliament, Butta Ganief Hendricks. Butta Ganief, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Juma Mubarak to you.
Alaikum salam and Juma Mubarak to you and all your listeners.
Yes, clearly, Butta Ganief, this has been quite an interesting case, quite an interesting development, and also the ruling on the part of the Western Cape High Court, the judge Yasmin Mir, who actually made the ruling. Now, this is something that you and I, and we have been discussing this thing for a long time with regard to the Muslim marriages bill, and we know those that are opposing this bill, for whatever reason. But again, here we have, as a last resort, this woman had to resort to the court to get a ruling.
Yeah, look, I'm going to speak as a politician and not as a alim. So I don't want to be tarred and feathered by the alims, what right has he got to give opinions. So
I'm not too sure whether there's any tar and feather left in this country, Butta Ganief.
Okay. So, look, the case is a very interesting case. The Par Muslim Jama-ah, Par is a rural area, is part of the MJC. And so what happened was that the one woman got a fatwa from the Par Muslim Jama-ah to say that that the talaq was valid, right? Then the other woman got a fatwa from the MJC to say that the fatwa, that the talaq was not valid because there were not two witnesses. So if the one party wanted to prove their case, they then had to give the names of the two witnesses, and there was not two witnesses when the talaq was issued. So here you find a situation where the Par Muslim Bar, who is part of the MJC, gives one fatwa, one ruling, and the MJC gives a different ruling. And our courts are now faced with this dilemma to decide, in this particular case, the claim for maintenance, and it's a staggering amount of 18 million rand. And as you know, it is tax-free because when a wife gets money from her husband, there's no tax involved. The money is tax-free. So it's a staggering amount. So the judge is the daughter of a renowned politician, Fatima Mir. And so we need to understand the developing culture in South Africa that no longer will patriarch prevail, and women will get their rights, inshallah. So the problem would have been solved if there was a valid South African marriage certificate. So if the person doesn't have a valid South African marriage certificate, for example, then you can't claim to be married. And that's why Jama-ah has submitted a registration of marriages bill. Only registration, nothing to do with the Sharia. Only a technical registration. And that bill, alhamdulillah, the breaking news is I received a letter from the speaker that it will be tabled in Parliament. And they want me to sign off that they can go ahead and have a first reading in Parliament. So that means that the nikahs performed by our imams will be taken to the Department of Home Affairs, and they will issue a valid South African marriage certificate. So now we don't have these problems anymore because the marriage certificate will be a legal document that will say whether the woman was married to the man or not married to the man. As you know, the Constitutional Court also made a judgment say that the Divorce Act is unconstitutional, and for the first time in the world, a high court judge, not a high court judge, but a constitutional court has recognized the Sharia. So in the judgment, it says that the Sharia must prevail when it comes to divorce matters, and the Divorce Act must be changed to give the Sharia that particular status. So Jama-ah has submitted amendments to the Divorce Act, and the Speaker also approved our first draft and wants us to give us a last chance to make any further changes before it goes to Parliament. So in that amendment that we made, just a few amendments, we give a definition of Islamic law, and we state quite clearly that when it comes to decisions regarding divorce, then the Sharia must prevail. So the only feedback we got so far from the ulama is that what's missing in Jama-ah's amendments is that we should say that only a qadi, that the judge must have the same qualifications as a qadi, and if he doesn't have the qualifications of a qadi, the assessor must have an assessor, and the fatwa of the assessor must prevail, and if the judge is unhappy, he can give a minority report, and further that the qadi must get a peer review certificate from his peers that is compliant with the Sharia. So that means that if the divorce certificate is then issued, then the marriage is struck off the database. So this will solve the problem of am I married or am I not married? Because if you're married and later on there's a talaq, then obviously you're not married anymore. So the registration system is very important, and alhamdulillah, Jama-ah has now 2 bills before Parliament to register the marriages, and another amendment to the Divorce Act to cancel the marriages. We don't want divorces to, and so on, but it happens. So that is the political side. Now, the Constitutional Court gave the President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, 2 years to make these changes. Jama-ah said that the woman's dignity cannot be tolerated for 1 day more. The rights of children being violated cannot be tolerated for 1 day more. So that's what we wrote to the Speaker, and the Speaker is kind enough to say, okay, let's prepare your bills, let's table it, and let's see what the members of Parliament have to say about it. So we hope that inshallah there will be support from the ulama, from the Muslim community, from the members of Parliament to register the nikah, because the Constitutional Court already said it must be done. So how can they argue against the Constitutional Court? The Constitutional Court has also said that when it comes to divorce, the Sharia must prevail. So they can't argue against it. Inshallah, next week, all these two bills will now be in the queue to be in the plenary session. We already had a debate on the nafaka bill, the maintenance, because Muslim men, many Muslim men, or some Muslim men, don't nafaka their women. So that bill already had its first reading. The second bill is now just to register the nikah. And the third bill is the amendment to the Divorce Act, so that the Department of Home Affairs, I hope they get the act together, will be able to issue marriage certificates and divorce certificates. And then this woman had to spend, this case took nearly 10 years or 8 years. And imagine the cost involved. The cost involved must have been 5 million for each one of these women. Our women can't afford those costs. The woman on the Cape Flats can't afford those costs.
Yes.
So that's why.
Buddha Ganief, can I just stop you there for a minute, please? I want to put you on hold. I need to go for an ad break. We'll be back. We're going to put you on hold. We're going to come back.
Shukran.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Over 33 million people have been affected by the devastating flood in Pakistan. Homes have been destroyed, crops have been swept away, and roads have been damaged. Families are mourning their loved ones while trying to survive these horrific conditions. Penny Appeal is on the ground now, delivering food, shelter, medical supplies, and water to those in need. You can help save a life by donating today. Visit our website www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573. Penny Appeal South Africa. Small change, big difference.
Shimmer, sparkle, captivate. Nothing less than a masterpiece. Droplets of gold inspires precious design. Platinum bursts with intricate freshness, and every pure diamond becomes more than just a girl's best friend. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, where timeless dreams become a reality. Come to us. We tailor-make designer gold, platinum, and diamond jewelry. Trade in or remodel your old gold. Clad yourself with classy name-branded watches. We offer insurance valuation and free zakat calculation. Visit us at 534 Ridge Road, Overport, or call 031 208 9142. Voda Gold Gem Jewelers, manufacturers of fine gold and diamond jewelry.
The Prophet, peace be upon him, has said, he is not a believer whose stomach is filled while his neighbor is hungry. Help us at Sansav to ease the hunger burdens of those in need by providing freshly prepared meals daily. You can be part of this by donating once off or monthly towards the Sansav Meals Project. Visit sansav.org.za or call us on 011 834 6046 for more information. Sansav, changing lives through development and relief.
With so many investment options today, it's only natural that you might feel a little confused which route to take. Should I buy shares or should I invest in gold bullion? Randery Jewelers now brings you the Zahab coin, an alternative to the Kruger Rand. The Zahab coin, a solid wealth protector in its purest form of 24-karat gold, is the safest way to protect your wealth. So don't just sit there and watch your paper money depreciate. Change to gold. Call Randery Jewelers now at 031 202 4701 or visit www.rjcoin.co.za, situated at 151 Essenwood Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randery Jewelers, the family name you can trust. Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
The time is just gone 12 minutes to 10 a.m. as we head towards closure this morning, and we continue our discussion with Ganief Hendricks, the president of the Jama-ah party, and we are talking about a Muslim woman, a widow, who had actually won a 19 million rand maintenance case in the Western Cape High Court, and this after it was conclusively proven that she was still married, and this was as a result of her husband taking a second wife. But Ganief, just to continue, and you mentioned that there are many women that cannot afford to go to court, and this is the reason why we need to make this process as easy as possible to simplify the process. You mentioned about this bill that is going to be tabled next week, and also the other issue is the home affairs, and when this bill goes through, which I would say is an extremely positive move. It's a step in the right direction where our marriages can be registered through the Department of Home Affairs, and at the same time, if there are divorces, there is no confusion, there is no ambiguity as far as divorce is concerned, like it had happened in this case. So, this is what we are looking at, and at the same time, like you mentioned, without compromising what Sharia stands for.
Yeah, as you know that South Africa has a number of divorce courts. You don't need a lawyer or an advocate to go to the divorce court. The wife can go to the divorce court. She can fill in the documents with the registrar, and she will get a set-down date. And the husband will be summoned to the court, and both of them can present to the judge in a very informal manner their issues, and the judge will then be able to give a judgment. The only problem in the past is that the nikah wasn't recognized, so Muslim women could not go to the divorce courts. Now that the Concord has decided that that is unconstitutional and has given Muslim women the right to go to the divorce court, it has opened the doors and the floodgates for Muslim women, who are disadvantaged to approach the divorce courts. So that is now, many women, many Muslim couples are only married in terms of the Sharia, which is the right thing to do. You can't get married in terms of another act, in terms of another ideology, like the old Marriage Act. Many Muslims got married, remarried in terms of the Marriage Act. It was like saying, God save the Queen. We don't have a Queen anymore, but I mean, that was the case. You can't pledge allegiance to Allah's laws and then pledge allegiance to the British laws, which South Africa adopted. So I think that we are on the right track. The judgment by the judge in this 19 million rand case is a groundbreaking judgment. And but it would be better if these matters don't go to court. You mentioned yourself, many people can't afford to go. I did say that it is free of charge. You don't need a lawyer or an advocate to go to the divorce courts, which is like a regional magistrate court and even a high court. You don't have to do that. But it is time that we should stop gender-based violence, and because of the disputes surrounding maintenance, surrounding for children, for women, it results in gender-based violence during the marriage and even worse after the marriage. So all this will also help to deal with the scourge of gender-based violence in South Africa. It is a pity
Yes.
that our I did engage with AMAL, the Association of Muslim Lawyers and Accountants. They were kind enough to invite me to a very important meeting. And more and more Muslim advocates, lawyers, judges should contribute to this debate. You should get them on Salam Media and ask them, what do you have to say? Because they are quiet and they are only interested in making money after all these laws are put in place. And they are not prepared to give their time, to give their energy, take part in the radio shows like with Salam Media, and contribute to prevent the hardship that this woman had to suffer for many years while she was entitled. It was her hak to get that 18 million rand for maintenance.
Yes, and also Buddha Khanif, I think this judgment sends a very, very powerful message to everyone else because we know that there is common practice where, in many instances, the talak is not given out of spite, and the husband takes a
Yes.
second wife and ignores the first wife totally, and then jumps to the tune of the second wife, and we see it happening over and over again, and we should not shy away from the fact that this is a real problem in our societies. So this judgment actually goes, you mentioned groundbreaking, it goes a long way to send this a very, very strong message to people, to husbands who are actually guilty of this type of behavior.
Yeah, look, the other problem is that there's a section of the ulama, who may not like this judgment, and they feel that that the wife must be supported by her father or her brothers, and so the ulama differ on this as well. So it makes the life of the courts very difficult, the judges very difficult. Luckily, we had a progressive Muslim judge that heard this particular matter and obviously consulted with the ulama, before she made a judgment. So that's why it's also important. I read a article just yesterday how judgments in the high courts are interfering with Islamic rulings. Every judge makes their own ruling and they have their twist. So that's why it's important that judges in the divorce court be qadis. And Chief Justice Ismail Muhammad, when he dealt with these matters in his time, he said that the only way forward is to have judges who are qadis. So you know how it works in the courts. A matter is given to a judge and there's caseload, so they can't pick and choose very definitely who to give the case to. So if the judge doesn't make the cut as a qadi, then a qadi must be an assessor, like I explained earlier on all the checks and balances to make sure that we have proper qualified alims and qadis to make these judgments, and that the judge is only a facilitator if he isn't a qadi.
Yes, in fact, Buddha Khanif, we are certainly looking forward to next week, and I'm sure we will be getting some updates from you, once the matter goes through Parliament as well. But I think for now, Jazakallah, we thank you for coming on, for talking to us. I think we've covered so much ground, and this is extremely important. This is relevant. And as you mentioned, getting some of the experts, whether they are legal people, you suggested we get them here on Salam Media. But I think we need a whole mix of people together with the ulama, with the experts, with the legal people, with people like yourselves, politicians who have an interest in the subject and doing something about it. It requires a lot more discussion. But once again, the point I had been making is it's a groundbreaking judgment. This, and it also sends a very, very strong message to people who are guilty of this type of behavior, particularly towards the first wife and when they get married for a second time.
Yeah, no, look, I like the word co-wife. In Islam, there's no first and second wife. We are all co-wives, so they must all be treated equally. But your point is made, and thank you very much for highlighting the plight of our Muslim women. And that's where Salam Media is playing a very important role to reduce gender-based violence, especially in the Muslim community.
I mean, Jazakallah, and have yourself a wonderful Jummah as well, Buddha Khanif. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That was Ganief Hendricks, the president and the leader of the Al Jama-ah party, with us this morning, and a much needed discussion on this matter. And we know Muslim personal law, the Muslim marriages bill, has been on the cards. It's been a subject of a lot of discussion, a lot of debate, a lot of controversy, a lot of misunderstanding. But it had got to a case where, you have a court ruling, a high court ruling, regarding the status of what Buddha Ganief mentions, a co-wife, and what her status of the marriage was. At the time when her husband had passed away, she still was legally married. Her nikah was still valid, and she was entitled to whatever inheritance from a Sharia point of view. And that brings us to the end of this morning's edition of News and Views. It's been great. It's been wonderful being in your company. And inshallah, looking forward to next week. But for now, you have yourself a wonderful Jummah. Fill it with the blessings, with the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let us recite abundant durood. It is the month of Rabiul Awal, where a lot of focus is going to be on the seerah, on the life of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And I'm sure many a Jummah bayan is going to be focusing on our noble master, the best of creation, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So let us continue reciting abundant durood on Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam on this day of Jummah. And with that, I'm going to be signing off from myself and the team here at Salam Media. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.